these are unfortunately not very good times for the study abroad program for the reasons that you have mentioned, but also for multiplicity of reasons, I think, as well. Obviously, you know what is going on in the US, or you are hearing, with cuts to USAID, with cuts to State Department programs that are encouraging and used to offer opportunities for students who want to study Arabic or major in Middle Eastern studies or Arab studies to come to the region, to study the region, to learn the languages. And unfortunately, we are living in a real crisis where I have a student who sent me an email the other day saying, and she's an international student, who's saying, you know, Professor, I know we had talked about me declaring a Middle Eastern Studies major, but I think it will appear on my I-20, which is her student visa, and she is concerned that if she would declare a Middle Eastern Studies major, that somehow that would make her look suspicious or jeopardize her status as a student in the US. So, and of course, add to it the decline in the study of Arabic that preceded the current moment. And if we look at the statistics from the Modern Language Association, who had a report looking at the changes in student enrollment in Arabic from 2016 to 2021, and Arabic has suffered almost a 30% drop, which is one of the highest drops in enrollment in Arabic at the American college level. So this is already before the current environment in which we are living. There is already a situation that causes a great deal of alarm. So there is an experience of disorientation, really, and there is an experience of loss that I think, you know, when I see that, I turn to philosophy. This is also the philosopher in me. And the philosopher I would like to turn to today that maybe help us to come out of this or to confront this situation that we're living in is none other than Abdel Fattah Kilito, who's, you know, another Rabati. And Kilito in L'auteur et ses doubles, you know, al-kitaba wal-istinsakh, he goes to and revisits al-Jahiz and talks about when the Arab is lost in the desert at night and what does he do to find his way back? He barks. He barks. And the idea is that by barking, there might be dogs, you know, guarding some other encampment, and then they might hear his bark and bark back, and therefore he comes back to that, you know, he might find his way by undoing the human, right? By undoing the human language, the language that is learned, and becoming like the animal, appropriating the animal language in order to find the human. So when we think about, and I think this is such a powerful metaphor and such a powerful philosophical framework to think about the current moment, especially for what we're doing today. Because, you know, when Fatma's talking about, when we're thinking about post-liberalism, it is not just simply the human that is being jeopardized, but it is also the human, the way, you know, the way humanism and liberalism has defined the human, that today we see as being problematic on so many levels, and we are trying to find another definition of the human, a human that brings back the kind of empathy that Abdel Hayy mentioned earlier. Because today we're in a situation where the human there is a struggle about, there is a fight about defining the human. There is a human that now wants to be the opposite of empathetic. That there is an emphasis on being indifferent to the pain of others, indifferent to the culture of others, indifferent to the particularity of others. So it is a very self-centered inward-looking human that is uninterested in the world or anything out. And even when you see children dying or people getting killed, you don't want to see, you want to stay within your own kind of bubble and not look. So how do we confront that human with another definition of the human? And this is where I think, the barking comes in. And this is where, as a way to lose a language that we have acquired and a system that we have built around based on certain parameters that are no longer working for us, and we need to really reinvent a different form of engagement and communication. And this is where I will not turn to Kilito this time, but I will turn to our first encounter in February 2022, when me and my colleagues from Dartmouth visited Rabat and met with you after the COVID-19 pandemic pretty much wiped out the study abroad programs and was risking also to completely destroy this ability to even see and encounter the other. And I know how difficult that period was, how difficult it was for you and for your center, and how difficult also it was for us, who basically also encourage students to learn Arabic, to grow our major and to grow our program and to be curious about the world and to come and spend the summer in Morocco. So when that was no longer possible because of the pandemic, we were all in this state of complete, collapse, really. And I remember that meeting, and I remember the difficulties, the additional difficulties that you were going through as well, personal losses and so on. And I remember how we sat together and we talked and we brainstormed and we put together an amazing, amazing program that continues until this day. So what gives me hope is that when people come together, they can bring us back from the brink of disaster, from the edge of the abyss. And that is something, despite the current situation in the world, specifically also with study abroad programs, with Arabic, with the US and what is happening there, I truly believe that when people come together and people like you, Abdel Hay and Farah and your amazing team, we can do it and we can continue to thrive. So thank you for all the work you're doing, and thank you everyone.